myself Dr. Preeti Jagwani from Department of Computer Science, Aryabhat College, University of Delhi. So in my previous lecture we started with the communication, network communication, and we have looked into what actually an OSI model is, what is the importance of OSI model, and apart from among the 7 layers of OSI model, we have looked into the 2 layers, the 2 bottommost layers in a greater level of detail, which are the physical layer and the data link layer. We have looked into the functions of them also. Moving further, on top of data link layer, there is a network layer. Now, let us begin with that. So, layer 3 in this OSI model is network layer, which works for the transmission of data from one host to the other located in different networks. Now, please remember, when we were talking about the data link layer and the physical layer, we were not talking about the different networks, we were talking about the same networks. This network layer is also going to take care of the packet routing. Packet routing ensures that the shortest path will be kind of selected in order to transmit the packet from all routes are available. Shortest path will be taken up. Now, as your data link layer deals in the MAC address of the machines, network layer is going to deal into the IP addresses of the machines. So, the sender and receivers IP addresses are placed by the network layer. Now, where these are placed? In the header of the packets. Similarly, in the header of the frames, as in the header of the frames, the MAC address was placed by data link layer. In the similar way, IP addresses of sender and receiver will be placed in the header of packets by the network layer, and this is clear that the segment of this information in the network layer is referred to as packets, and this network layer is what all networking devices are going to be used on this layer. So, as routing is a major responsibility of this network, routers and more importantly kind of advanced version switches are the networking devices which are being used on this network layer. So, this network layer, we can say yes, it is responsible for the delivery of individual packet from source to destination. Looking into the functions list of this network layer, we have routing, that means determining which route is suitable, which route is shortest from source to destination. As in a network there can be multiple we can say multiple routes from source to destination. Then logical addressing, that is to identify each device on an inter-network uniquely. The network layer defines an addressing scheme, and within this addressing scheme the sender and receiver's IP address is placed in the header by the network layer, and this is an address, as you all are aware that IP address is some such thing which distinguishes each device uniquely as well as universally, we can say. So, if we want to look into the functions of network layer with the help of a figure, here is the figure. So, we have packet creation, which is kind of is the responsibility of the network layer. That is kind of it is receiving some data which is obviously not in the form of packets from the layer on top of it. Then it will create the packets, it will put on sender and receiver's address into IP address of course. So, into the packets, then obviously routing is also the responsibility of the network layer, and finally we can say assembly of these packets on the receiving end is also we can say is a major responsibility of this network layer. Now, we have seen till this point we have seen 3 layers. We have seen physical layer, we have seen data link layer, and we have also seen your network layer, and we looked into the responsibilities of these as well. Moving further, the fourth layer from the bottom is the transport layer. Now, transport layer provides the services to the application layer, which is the layer above it, and it takes services from the network layer. So, in this stacked model, every layer is going to provide services to the layer which is stacked on top of that. Now, data, as in the network layer, the data was referred to as packets. Here the data in the transport layer is referred to as segments, and this transport layer is responsible for end-to-end delivery of the complete message. Not only delivery, but this also provides the acknowledgement of the successful data transmission, and the duty is also to retransmit the data if an error is found. Now, there are so many protocols which are being kind of operated on this level, which is your transport layer. So, these protocols are TCP, which is transmission control protocol, then we have UDP, then we have the protocol NetBIOS and PPTP. All these protocols are being kind of, we can say, operated on this transport layer. So, transport layer or all these layers will be on the sender side as well as on the receiver side. So, at the sender side, this transport layer receives the data from the upper layer, then this performs the segmentation, and along with this segmentation it also implements flow and error control in order to ensure the data transmission in a proper way. It also adds the source and destination port number in its header and forward the segmented data to the network layer. Then network layer convert that data in the form of packets, data link layer that converts that data in the form of frames, and so on and so forth. So, till this point we have segments, then we have packets, then below packets we have frames also. So, within that frame MAC address was added, within the packet IP address was added, and within the segment source and destination port numbers are added. Generally, when we talk about port numbers, the ports can be configured either manually or some ports are there by default. So, for example, when a web application requests a web server, it typically uses the port 80, which is 80, and that is the default port assigned to the web applications. Many applications have default ports assigned, or you can have configured them manually also. At the receiver side, if we look into, the transport layer reads the port number from its header and forwards the data which it has received to the we can say respective application. Apart from that, it also performs sequencing and reassembling of the segmented data. So, the main functions of transport layer, if we want to sum up them, we have this segmentation and reassembly. That means this layer is going to accept the data from the layer above, which is the session layer, breaks them into the smaller units which we are calling as segment, and each of the segment produced has a header associated with it, in which the port number of the application is being we can say inserted. The transport layer at the destination side is going to reassemble the message. Apart from this, there is service point addressing, that is to deliver the message to the correct process. As I have told you, the transport layer header is having one kind of a special address, which is nothing but the port address. This port address, another name for this port address is service point address, and by specifying this port address, the transport layer is making sure that the message is delivered to the correct process. And that is why in the figure in the nutshell, which I have shown you in the previous lecture when we started with OSI model, the function or the major work of the transport layer is process to process delivery, because this is going to encode the port address or the service point address into your data, we can say. Now, services provided by the transport layer can be connection oriented services, or these can be connection less services. Connection oriented protocols and connection less protocols we will be covering in our upcoming lectures. Now, in a nutshell, if we see how this transport layer is going to perform. So, one side we can say on the sender side the segmentation is being done, then these segments are being transported to the receiver side, and at the receiver side the reassembly or the rearrangement, or we can say correct arrangement of these segments is to be done at the receiver's side. Moving further, apart from this, the next layer or the layer 5 is the session layer. Now, as the name indicates, we actually we can say we establish a session with the service or with the server. Let us say we are looking for a web page, we establish a session, we communicate it, and when we are done, that session is we can say terminated. So, session layer is responsible for the establishment of connections, management of those connections, termination of sessions between two devices. Apart from that, it also provides authentication and security. Protocols which are used in the session layer are PPTP and NetBIOS. These are the two protocols which are also used at the lower level, which is the transport layer. Looking into the functions of session layer, if we talk about session establishment, maintenance and termination, all these everything about the session is the function of the session layer. So, this layer we can say it allows the two processes to establish, to use and to terminate a connection when it is not required. Apart from managing the sessions or managing the connections, synchronization is also something which is related to this particular layer, because this layer allows a process to add checkpoints. These checkpoints can be considered as synchronization points in the data. The task of these synchronization points is to help to identify the error, so that the data is resynchronized properly at the receiver's end, and the ends of messages are not cut in an unwanted way, in an premature way, so that data loss is avoided. So, it is not only the session establishment, maintenance and termination. Synchronization is also a task of your session layer. Apart from that, it also works as a dialogue controller. So, this session layer allows two systems to start a communication in the form of a session, obviously, with each other, whatever the mode they are going to choose, whether it is a half duplex or it is a full duplex. Now, in order to understand the function of your session layer, let us consider a scenario where a user wants to send a message through some messenger application running in their browser. So, the messenger here is going to act as the layer above, which is application layer. We are yet to study that application layer, which provides the user with an interface to create the data, or to kind of we can say compose the message. This message, or so called we can say data, is compressed and optionally encrypted if it is required, converted into bits 0 and 1, so that it can be transmitted over this whole network. So, session layer, if we say it is going to give us different sessions of communications, that is the major responsibility, although we have looked into some more which are related to dialogue control and synchronization. So, after this session layer, if we want to move further, on top of this session layer, we have our layer number 6, which is presentation layer. This presentation layer is also known as translation layer. Now, why this is known as translation layer? Because this is going to translate the data from one format to another if required. I will let you know how this works. So, data from the application layer, which is the layer above this presentation layer, is extracted and manipulated as per the required format, and that is why it is known as translation layer. So, manipulated as per the required format to transmit over the network. Now, we can say the function of the translation, for example, if we want to convert the ASCII formatted data to the data which is formatted in the form of the different code, which is the EBCDIC. So, this kind of translation is the kind of function of presentation layer. What are the protocols used in the presentation layer are transport layer security, then secure socket layer, SSL protocol, TLS protocol. All these are the protocols which are used in the presentation layer. Standard formats for encoding data, JPEG we have, GIF we have, MPEG we have, and this is actually the part of presentation's role, presentation layer's role. Translation is another function I have already explained, from ASCII to EBCDIC is one example. Then this also compresses the data, that means reduces the number of bits that need to be transmitted onto the network. Encryption and decryption, obviously. So, if it is kind of translating the data, data encryption which translates the data into another form or code is the function of this layer. Now, this encrypted data which is more commonly known as ciphertext is going to be kind of travel, and at the receiver's end it is decrypted as the plain text, and for this encryption and decryption we will be using the different key values. So, in a nutshell, if we look into presentation layer, so encryption, yes, which is kind of coding the data for in order to maintain the secrecy, is the function of presentation layer. Then we can say, in order to move the data which is which is very heavy, so compression is also there. So, compression is also the we can say function of the presentation layer. And finally, we looked also in the example of translation, which is from ASCII to EBCDIC, or at any other translation example could be there from one format to another. All these are functions of presentation layer, we can say. So, till now we have looked into we have, in our previous lecture we looked into the two layers, which are the physical layer and the data link layer. Here today we have looked into the network layer, then we have looked into the transport layer, session layer and presentation layer. Now, we are left with the topmost layer, which is known as application layer. It is on to the very top of this OSI ISO reference model. Now, this application layer, we can say it is implemented by the network applications, and if we talk about what is being done by this application layer is they produce the data which is to be transferred, which is to be moved over the complete network. This is actually, or this application layer serves as a window for the application services to access the network and for displaying the received information to the user. So, user is someone who is in the direct touch with this topmost layer, which is the application layer. Coming on to what kind of protocols or which all protocols are being used here. So, we have SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol, we have FTP, file transfer protocol, we have DNS. All these layers, all these applications are used on the application layer. So, application layer, if you can see, this requests the content from a website, or it deals directly into the application, and whatever application this layer is accessing, that service or that application is going to return some content in the required format, and even if some translation is required, the layer below the application layer is going to which is the presentation layer, is going to translate that format into some other if required. So, dealing with the application directly is, or requesting the content is actually the we can say task of the application layer. So now till this point we have seen all the 7 layers of the ISO model. So, as I have told you that this application layer is what kind of protocols are being used here. So, we have SMTP, FTP and DNS. So, this indicates one a fact that this is going to provide network virtual terminals, we can say, because user in directly touch with this application layer. Mail services, providing email services is also function of this application layer. Apart from that, file transfer, access and management, which is the functionality which allows a user to access the file onto a remote host, retrieve the files from that particular remote host and manage or control the files from a remote computer. All the directory services, which is to providing which is to provide distributed database sources and access for the global information about various objects and services, which are different directory services, are basically we can say functions of application layer. So, not only the providing email services, but providing file transfer and management along with the access from a remote server. Then we have directory services also, which are the function of your application layer. Now, in order to kind of summarize this whole model, let us look into these two figures which are available on the screen. So, we have a transmission which is going from a device A to device B. So, device A has taken some or the application layer at the device A has taken some data from the application. It could be a web content or something of that sort. Then the presentation layer, and then this data is being passed on to the layer below it, which is the presentation layer. So, presentation layer is going to add the presentation header into this, transfer the data onto the layer below it, which is the session layer. Then session layer is going to add HTTP header to it. Transport layer, when it is going to get the data, will add TCP header. Network layer is going to add IP header, and data link layer is going to add MAC header. Physical layer will convert this whole data in the form of an stream of bits and transfer onto the device B. Now, let us see what happens at device B. At device B, this physical layer, at the physical layer of device B, data is being received as in the form of 1 and 0. Then this is being transferred to the layer above it, which is the data link layer. Data link layer sees that in the form of MAC header, IP header, TCP header, HTTP header, then presentation header and data. And now these headers are being kind of stripped off in order to get the original data, or in order to get, or in order to pass on the original data to the user. So, at the network layer, MAC header is being stripped off, if you can see. At the transport layer, IP header is no more. Then this TCP header is also kind of stripped off, and session layer is not going to get this TCP header. HTTP header is also being taken off, and all this information encoded in these headers is being used in order to determine the level, determine the ports, determine the machine in terms of IP addresses, determine the machines onto the network physically in terms of MAC addresses and so on and so forth. And then if you can see here in the figure, presentation layer is only having presentation header and the data, which is again stripped off in the next we can say step, and application layer at the receiving side is only having the data which was being passed from the data which was being passed from the application layer onto the device A. So, in this way, encapsulation on the sender side and decapsulation on the receiver side is also going to is also taking place. So, if we look, if we sum up this lecture, we have looked into the top 5 layers of your ISO OSI reference. Apart from that, we have also looked into how this encapsulation and decapsulation is going to take place when an information, when a data is being sent from a sender to a receiver, what kind of headers are being kind of added at which level, and at which level at the receiving side these headers are being stripped off, and how this whole communication is being we can say is happening. Here is a list of references which is being used for the preparation of lecture. I will see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Goodbye.